Yardenne and Stephie, I'm so excited that both of you could make it onto Coffee with Curtis. We've got so much to talk about today, so welcome to the show.
Hey, Robert. Thank you for having us.
Hi there. So happy to be here. Let's go.
Wonderful. Well, what the listeners won't know is that we've had a few false starts this morning. So thank you for your patience. And we're gonna take it from the top again. Yardenne, I want to start with you introducing yourself. Just give the listeners a bit of a background on you. And I think you are a natural born saleswoman because I've been reading up on you, and it seems like you've got some apologies to give to your mum and her dresses.
That's true. Thank you, Robert. So, hi, everyone. I'm Yardenne. I'm the CEO of Unboxable. I had the privilege of starting this company together with Stephie, my co-founder. It's my second time as a co-founder and a CEO of a startup. And beforehand, I was acting as an investor, both in a private equity fund and as a partner at an impact VC that I founded. But it's a story for another time. And Robert, as you mentioned, yes, I think that like entrepreneurship is mostly about spirit and character. And I think that it's something that I remember myself doing all of this out of the box kind of like behavior and believing and being like, have this type of behavior since I was a little kid. And I think that you're referring to the time that I was like 6 or 7 and my mom came back from work and I was doing this yard sale all of her personal items, and it was like it was sold very cheap, but it was a success because I was able to make a lot of money that day due to my my mom's items. Yes.
I love it. Well done to you. I'm sure your mum was really happy. But
yes.
Stephie, welcome to the podcast. Let's hear a little bit about you. There's 2 stories I'd love you to just kick us off with as well. Once you've introduced yourself, you are also sort of a kindred spirit to me. I was reading that you basically convinced your husband and upped and moved country in 48 hours. I'll tell you for another time my story, very similar, of moving to Israel. But I want to hear more about you. You're obviously a risk taker, very determined person. And tell us about the fact that you've still got your kidneys.
Well, that's a weird story, of course. It was I was backpacking with one of my best friends in the north of Brazil. So at some point we started seeing the same 2 guys going after us, and like they would appear in every party that we were, and it started to get very weird. And I don't want to tell all the stories, but all the details, but the truth is that at some point I told my best friend, okay, I said it in German so the guys wouldn't understand. I'm going to count until 10 in German, and then we're going to run until we see someone and saves us from this. So that's what we did. We started running until police came. And finally, we found out that these were 2 guys that were part of a, organization that were stealing kidneys or organs. So yeah, I'm very happy that I'm here. I'm an entrepreneur. I live in Israel. I have 2 kidneys. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a risk taker. I mean, that's one of the only stories. Fortunately, that story went very well. But I think that I was always a chutzpanit, and I just didn't know that there was an entire country full of chutzpanim. And so it feels very much at home when I'm here in the sense of entrepreneurship. I think that like Yardenne, I was always an entrepreneur, both in the way that I, handled sport. I was an athlete before, and I think that gave me a lot of understanding about building teams and, going towards goals. And yeah, a lot of the things that I do today are related to that past, right? But I think that it takes some guts to start a company, to move from one country to the other. And yeah, I love all of that. Bring me more. That's what I say.
Stephie, I didn't know that you had a sporting background. I often find that there is a disproportionate amount of people who have a very successful or very driven sporting or training mentality that are often very successful in business. Do you find that? Do you sense there's a lot of parallels?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's scientifically reliable, right? But I can relate to the stories that are based on that. I think that there's a lot of elements that have to do with competing with yourself, with finding your own ways of, hacking your own system in order to achieve something. But there's also what Yardenne was saying before, a lot of spirit. You need to have a huge backbone, a huge spine in order to continue, even things are not going, at the best all the time. And this is what training does to you, right? Like it's about a muscle. Yeah. It's about a muscle that you need to constantly use in your brain, everywhere, in your spirit.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. Yardenne, you were mentioning that you have obviously sat on the other side of the sort of business fence as an investor, working not only as sounds like an angel investor yourself, but also as a partner within a VC. What do you prefer more? What are the sort of, I guess, enjoyable parts of living on the other side as the co-founder?
What do you mean? She prefers me, of course.
By all means, and that's the reason I'm here today. By all means, I prefer the part of actually of being an entrepreneur, to build companies, to run up with an idea, to dream, and then to execute. And I think I do not disvalue at all investors and that positioning, but for my spirit and my type of character, on and the ability to think something and to dream about it at night, and then the morning after to be able to act upon it, for me, that's the game changer. This what makes me tick and move, and the ability to build things with my bare hands. So definitely for me, an entrepreneur is better than an investor for my ride.
Just from a I guess background perspective, how did you both meet and decide to go on this journey together?
Steph, you want to take it, or should I?
You can start, and I will add my side of the story.
In very short, we started by having mutual friends, and both of us were in this intersection after having like this very long, also successful rides, thinking about our next journey. Our mutual friends told us, do you guys know each other? Because we have a feeling that you're going to have fun together and to be irresistible. So I gave Stephie a call, and from there, it's a history. And I think that another thing that connects us together is the fact that both of us has our first kid at the same time. And I think that for women entrepreneurs, having kids as part of the ride is something which is on one hand inevitable, and it's an amazing thing because it affects and actually determine a lot of how your journey would look like, because there's a lot of mutuality between motherhood and being an owner of a business, and the ability to hold so many balls in the air, and the ability to act upon things and to understand like the other side. And so there's a lot of things in common there. And I think that the fact that we're also going through this path together in so many similarities also is one good reason that we're here together.
I love it.
I think that I want to add to that it took us really little time for me and for Yardenne. I was coming from another startup of mine. This is my third one. And, I always had amazing teams besides when I moved into entrepreneurship. What I mean by that, it was very, very hard for me to find good partnership, okay? And like, it took me at least, I don't know, Yardenne, you can say something different if you want, brutally honest. But little time to understand that, one, our way of communicating and like the connection created a lot of speed. That's the first thing. And the second thing, that there was something very deep that united us, which is like seeing the world with wild eyes. I think that we both have like wild hearts. And if you ask me, like, this is the source of this idea, this is the source of the day-to-day, in the ups and in the downs, like this is how we experience each other. So I think that brings something very unique in our partnership.
That's great. Look, partnership is it can be the hardest thing, and it can be the most rewarding thing, whether it's in your lives with other halves, or in the business sphere. It's you've got to work at it, you've got to get it right, and that chemistry is everything, like you mentioned, to share the same journey and vision and values, and just that energy that happens, that this is someone I want to take this road with. Let's move on. Let's talk about Unboxable, because that's the company that you're both co-founders of. And let's just kick off. I don't know who wants to take this. Give us the nugget of what is Unboxable. Who are you?
Should I, Stephie?
Yalla, go.
Okay. I'll say it in a very, as you said, in a nutshell, and then we can dive into the core and the source. So by definition, we are a predictive hiring technology. We're allowing companies to completely remove CVs and resumes from their hiring processes and replacing it with what we called deep talent reports. These reports basically are telling companies everything they should know about a potential hire, in the light of the role, as if this hire is already an employee in the company. And by that, we're allowing companies to hire with speed and accuracy, which is today unmatched in the ecosystem.
That is a big task, because as someone who's worked in recruitment for a number of years, I know that this is a sector that, a little bit like real estate actually, hasn't seen huge disruption for a very, very long time. There is an ecosystem of new HR tech and supporting systems around it, but it feels like, and again, I'm not in the industry day to day anymore, but there hasn't been any huge shift in the workflow of a recruiter. And so what you're trying to do is to shake up a whole category. I guess that's probably one of the hardest things to do, is sort of re-educating the market, Stephie.
Yeah, so first of all, education is something that, every startup out there would say, wow, if you need to re-educate the market, it will take a long time. But we're seeing a lot, how with our results, it's evident. So, there's not so much effort over there when you are attacking this problem from the source. And the truth is that you're right. Like, we're still, 99% of the solutions out there, which are like tons of them, right, in HR tech, are still having the same gatekeeper, which is the CV, the resume. It's we have said it so many times that probably it will sound repetitive, but it's a tool that was invented in 1482 by Leonardo da Vinci, right? And although he was a genius, and I love him, we're 500 years with the same tool when things are a little bit different today. We will talk later on.
I have to stop you. What's the story of Leonardo da Vinci and the CV?
Oh, okay. So it was 1482, and Leonardo da Vinci wanted to get a job in the city of Milano. So he wrote a letter called Curriculum Vitae, right? Like the story of a life in Latin. And today I will send you the picture, because it's like, you can Google it. It's exactly the same. Like, if you could translate Latin, you would see that it says the same kind of things that you find in a CV today, right? So what is my past story? What are my skills? Well, he got the job, okay? He got the job. He got a job in the city of Milano. He was selling the fact that he was very skilled in creating or building tools, weapons that were light, like on-the-go weapons for a potential war. Back then, Milano wasn't in war, but still he got the job, right? Let's say that was a good hire, okay? But today, We're using the same tool. And the truth is that we have 46% of bad hires in the world. So we're not in the same situation than Leonardo da Vinci, right? So something needs to change and be reassessed. And this is why we're saying that one of the things that Yardenne and me we're really keen to is to attack this from the, at the core of the pain, from this broken protocol. Like, what can we do differently, right? So to remove all this, to remove the CV, it's not because it's trendy to remove the CV. It's because there are bad predictors of success in this CV, such as past experience with, today in a world where 1/4 of the person will do a career pivot, past experience, it's not relevant anymore. And also education pedigree, which is like, where did you study? Like, tell me, where did you study? And I will tell you if you're good or not. And that's not relevant anymore, neither, right? So this is why we're removing that. And we're creating a prediction that can really give you a hint of what it will be the story of this person once is hired until this person is 3 months in, for instance.
I think what's interesting about what you're trying to do is that it's not actually just focused, and maybe I'm wrong, it's not just focused on the company's recruiting process. It's actually a benefit, it sounds like, for the talent who is being recruited, because they can get to see presumably the type of work that they might do within the company. Is that, am I right?
You're totally right. And I think that basically today, what we're allowing companies to do is start by defining the job. And defining the job, if we'll look at job descriptions, we'll see the jobs definitions in the market today has to do a lot with the needed skills and their needed outcomes. But these skills and outcomes without the context are basically nothing. Because if someone will be able to act upon his skills and to unfold all of his knowledge and capabilities, has to do only with the context. And the context comes from the environment, from the expectation of the management, from the ability to be well integrated with the team. So the ability to learn about one's hard skills, technical skills, knowledge, soft skills, but also how all of them are being expected to unfold in the context of the role, that's the game changer, okay? Because now there's a market which is full of solutions that are giving you so much indications about what are your technical skills? What is your past knowledge? We're not claiming that your technical skills and your past knowledge and everything that you did up until that point is not relevant. What we're saying that this is not a good predictor, a standalone predictor to your potential success within a specific opportunity. And what we are allowing companies and talent to do today is to surface all of the unique predictors that has to do with one's talent and also with the role, and allowing them in a very early stage of the process to see how this relationship is going to unfold. Is it going to thrive or not to thrive? And we are moving the needle today in a super dramatic way, because today the market is basically stating 46% of bad hires. Wow. It means that it's like flipping a coin. It's insane. And everyone knows that. Everyone is suffering from that. So what do everyone do, including us? By the way, the reason that we started this company is because we suffered from this problem firsthand. When we needed to grow our teams or hire the next people to our teams, it was like, okay, now I'm looking at someone's CV, and then what? Who am I? Like, who is this person? What am I supposed to do with this information in order to be able to predict if he or she should go into the funnel or not? And it was so frustrating, especially in 2020 back then, when everything is happening in your, like the palm of your hand, and you are used to making very random and basic decisions in much more contextual, data-driven environments. And when it comes to growing your teams that affect dramatically on the bottom line of your business, you're still forced to use this very outdated tools. And we realized that the problem starts there, from the fact that there's a broken protocol between these two entities. We're lacking context, we're lacking unique information that no one is even defining, let alone measuring. And this is today what is basically differentiate what we do here at Unboxable from the rest of the ecosystem and allows us to bring really unmatched results today in the market.
I think what is interesting for me is you're just removing the element of chance that lives in the whole recruitment process today.
Exactly.
If we're saying that basically 50% of the time, it doesn't work. As a founder, as companies who are, in hyper growth, I was speaking to Monday.com recently, they're recruiting 600 people this year.
Yeah.
And the ability to be able to match people to their roles and for people to understand whether the company is a right fit for them is left to a piece of paper it doesn't actually make any sense. Now we're saying and playing it back to us. So, well done to you. One question that does come up around simulation, I was reading recently, what was it called? Fake News, Fake School, Fake Economy by Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And he talks in one chapter around the issues at school. And that at school, we teach children to, remember a piece of work and then sit an exam and try and regurgitate this piece of work that they learned. And that is something that just doesn't really happen in the workplace. I've never been asked to do that in 25 years in the workplace, but that's what I'd spent, 16 years at school doing. Do you see, though, with those simulations that there could be a weakness in terms of I might just be a person that doesn't like to be in a test or in that environment, and I'm not able to show my true self because actually in that environment I become anxious or it's not suited to my makeup? How does it account for that?
Okay, so it's a very good question, right? Like what we have seen from the past solutions is that everything that creates an environment of testing, meaning time, that the time is ticking, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or that there's wrong and right, that there's an expectation of wrong and right, so it doesn't work. Okay. And what Unboxable does differently is that we create a situation, we use situational judgment when there's no exactly wrong or right. It's not binary. Okay. It's about, it's about a scale on how accurate is your answer. And it has to do with the situation, again, with the context of this specific role in this specific company under this specific hiring manager. So so it changes the game because it does give you the opportunity to show up on how would you react in a situation like this, whatever the situation is, without being, with the ghost of the time and without being with the stress of right or wrong. So we took that out from the simulations. And I think that the other part where we bring a huge added value that none of the competitors and we haven't seen in the market is the fact that we can predict if someone is going to thrive under a specific leader or under a specific hiring manager. And this is something that changes the game because it allows both sides. First of all, it allows the talent to have immediate feedback. When we launched this version of the product a little while ago, and the first talent that used it already sent an email saying, "Oh my God, like finally I have immediate feedback on how am I being seen?" Okay. And on the other hand, it allows you to make a smart decision of, am I going to be able as a company to satisfy the psychological needs of this specific talent? And this has, again, to do with the context. So there's a lot to say, and of course we could talk hours about it, but we remove, to your question, we remove everything that smells like a test.
I think what you said there in that last sentence around psychological factors that impact hiring is something that perhaps has always been sort of informal or unofficial. It's, perhaps the recruiter's gut feel of how they feel towards another person, which is also, a whole issue on itself. But there are qualities that we all have, and we all show up in different ways in different environments. And I often use the example of, sometimes I can be an introvert and sometimes I can be an extrovert. It doesn't mean I'm one or the other. I'm some of each of it at different times in different situations. How does Unboxable, and I'm asking this really from my background in sales and marketing, how does Unboxable factor in the EQ, the emotional intelligence that comes with working in a company, working with other people? I guess how can you pick up whether someone's a complete idiot or not? They might have the skills, but are they going to be an absolute pain in the backside to work with? How do you match that talent with culture?
As I mentioned before, today our algorithm basically runs on three main pillars: the hard skills, the soft skills, and the context of the job. Okay. And the context of the job has to do with how compatible am I with the manager, with the team, with the values of the company. The soft skill has to do with the relevant skills that are specific for the role that you're applying for. And the hard skills has to do with the technical. Okay, with the technical knowledge that is important for the role. So what we're allowing you to do is, in a very early stage, to have some access to all of these different data points that are basically curated around information that we're extracting from you as a company. So in order to open a job simulator, which is the tool that the talent is using instead of a CV, in order to apply, this job simulator is being based upon all of these different elements that you as a company, as a hiring manager, defining on our platform. So we're making sure, so it's not about, by the way, it's about being an idiot or a pain in the ass. Just like in relationship, in love or sports, a match has to do with the context, with how Robert and Yardenne are going to interact. And with me, you might be open and funny and full of life. And with other people, they might affect you in a different way, and you'll become another Robert. And what I care about is how Robert is going to unfold with me. And this is what we're allowing people to do. We basically stop this disease of this entire market of trying to put people on benchmarks and with headers and with scores, because just like in love and in sport, it's relative. It has to do with the company, with the hiring manager, with the role. And what we are also basically allowing the market to do is to insert fluidity and to take out different limitation and boundaries, because you might be relevant in one company as a talent for a position of sales, and in another company for a position of CS or account management or external relationship management. And what we're allowing you to do is we're allowing you to be matched based on your skills and based on the environment that you're thriving under in order to be the best version of yourself.
Are you using psychometric testing within that soft skill process?
Not at all. Not at all. So basically, we have a team of what we call matching analysts, and they are responsible of integrating different type of tools, questions, analysis into our AI that are assessing different type of capabilities. And these questions and evaluators can be based on technical skills. So they will be like hard code questions, but it could also be different soft skills. And then we're implementing different type of tools. For example, one of the tools that we're implementing is called ComProfile. And ComProfile is a tool that we are exclusively using in order to be able to analyze your communicational profile, your behavioral agility, the type of like strength that you have, what is the type of environment that you're thriving under. So it's like different type of tools that are basically composing our AI that analyzing people. And it's all about people at the end of the day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's matching the skills and the
Yeah,
other attributes that match up.
exactly.
Wow. Steffi, from an experience point of view for the user, whether it's the candidate or the company, where do you sit in the flow of recruitment? Are you something that starts at the beginning? I guess, where's the entry point for where Unboxable comes into the story?
So today, the majority of our clients, of course, they use us in the first beginning, right? Because if you ask yourself, why do you need to, like in general, right? Why does the market need to wait 42 days in order to find out the deepest information from this, sometimes even more? You know, we were interviewing one of our clients, I think last week, Eyal Sharon from Play Studios. He uses Unboxable from the first beginning. And he said, like, it's unbelievable that you're able to give me information about a talent in the day zero. This is what we say, day zero, without you even hopping on a call with the talent. This is information that sometimes I don't even get after 6 months that this person was hired. It's so deep and it's so accurate. And so the use case that we currently have with all of our clients is that they use our simulations and Unboxable simulations in the beginning of the funnel. Therefore, you will find, for instance, first of all, they all increase the amount of talents that are applying to their job, okay? And our claim about that is, and we know it because talents are mentioning that, is because the candidate experience is amazing for them, okay? They feel that they have the chance to being seen, which is something that they didn't have before, right? The second thing is that the conversion rates from the first part of the funnel, which is, you know, very wide, it goes very thin. Why? Because we're able to allow you as a company to only spend time with the people that are highly, highly, highly relevant for you. And it might not be with the predictors that you used before. So suddenly you cannot claim that there's talent shortage or something. No, we're able to unlock for you with these job simulators a new hidden layer of the pool that you weren't seeing before in the market. And I think that's the other part of us that creates a lot of value for our clients, besides other stuff, right? Like the speed to hire, which is like cutting a half with us, the accuracy that it's today 93%. And, you know, a lot of people say, wait, but, you know, the market is crazy. It's on acid. A lot of people are fighting for a talent. Why would you put a simulation in the beginning? Okay. Which I think this is why you were asking. And the truth is that talents out there are preferring Unboxable than sending their CVs, because they know they prefer to invest time.
Well, I can't show my true self through a CV. It's just impossible from one or two sheets of paper to show the true Robert.
Yes, exactly.
I think also that screening time and time to hire. And again, I remember from doing it back in the day as a recruiter, that is the pain point of every recruiter, how to get those 42 days down, how to go through all of those candidates who apply quickly. And I think the thing I've picked up on what you've both said, actually, which is obviously super relevant in today's world, is the ability for Unboxable to play a role in delivering true equity, democratization of the hiring process, to take out the bias, to take out the ability to make decisions that might be partly based on skill, but because you like that person more, or you have other biases that maybe are more negative. I'm sensing that's something that you probably are a part of.
Of course, like our solution extracts or removes all the bias that have to do with personal affinity that we all have, right? All the bad predictors, like where did you study, in which group were you in the military, like all of these things that might be putting you in a pipeline where you shouldn't be, or taking you out, even worse, taking you out of a pipeline where you actually should be. So we're removing all of that, and that for sure creates more diversity. in the teams, and we can sense it already. I think that it also brings a lot of equality. You were talking about democratizing, and it brings the sensation of equality also for the talent. Like suddenly, it's not that everyone does scrutiny on you, but also you have the power today as a talent to make an educated decision about where do you want to spend your most of your time, and what should, find your real powerhouse of talent so you can thrive.
I might be getting way ahead of myself here, but I'm getting really excited by this idea. And you probably thought of it already, so you can just say, Robert, get back in your box. But this idea of eventually you will be the central source of true skill talent that will be almost like a depository of talent around the world that I can say as a company, I need this. And it can then overlay over the whole marketplace of Unboxable and say, these people are most likely, again, context is going to play, so you can't always do that. But these people are more likely in our predictive method to match more easily with what you're looking for.
And it's not only that, think about it from the other way around. You're speaking about the side of the companies that it's true that it's definitely not cracked, but it's definitely also a red ocean because there's so many solutions that are trying to solve, to shorten, to make it more accurate. But what about the side of the talent, which is completely neglected? And now we will be able to tell you, Robert, these are your skills. This is what you gain in the last 18 months in your last position. These are all the opportunities that are relevant for you now based on the new market, based on the new opportunities since the last time you were searching for a job. And now helping talent to actually tap into all of the opportunities out there for them. Just like today, when you're hungry, when you're calling in for a taxi, when you're looking for a date, you creating a profile, and based on that, all the opportunities are coming your way.
Yeah, like few months ago, I was speaking to Efrat Dagan, which is, one of the most talented and experienced recruiters in Israel. She has worked for amazing companies. And I asked her, like, okay, so how do you see recruiting in, like, how would you hire in 10 years from now? Close your eyes and tell me, what do you see over there? So we were playing a little bit the futurist game, right? And she suddenly tells me, like, so I think that the right way that this will happen is that you have enough data about me as a talent and enough data on the other side from companies that I will apply to jobs while I'm sleeping. And I will wake up and I will have this email that tells me these are all the opportunities that are going on. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, we don't need to wait 10 years for that. We don't need to wait 20 years for that. Like, we're actually working on it. And like, I think this is what excites us the most, right? What you were saying before.
I think it makes total sense. I'm so there. Efrat is so right. I guess if we move to sort of like bigger themes of around what's happening generally within the business ecosystem, obviously everyone's talking about the great resignation or the big quit, or I heard someone yesterday coin it the great pivot. And whenever I hear that word pivot, I just think of Friends, that Friends episode where Ross is taking the sofa, pivot. Anyway, for another time. But I
remember this episode. It's a funny episode.
It's a funny episode. But how do you see the market moving with this, given that the shifts in what work means is unbelievably changing for in a direction that I don't think any of us would have ever seen before. This idea of tours of duty or short bursts at specific companies where I might only do 6 months there and move on to the next one. I saw a company this week called Overpass, who are based in the States. And if you need sales talent for a period of time, 3 months, 6 months, you can just go in, find the person that you think might be best suited to you in their sort of Fiverr style marketplace and give them a project for 3 or 6 months. and it feels like we're heading towards this, your fluid work world. That's going to impact HR recruiters' roles and the products that they use.
Okay, a lot of people are talking about the Great Resignation and how things are changing very rapidly. I think that the move now is like how to rebuild these protocols so we will move towards the great hire. Okay, this is where I'm concentrated, where we are concentrated on. And I think that first of all, these trends or these signals that the landscape of hiring was giving us before COVID were only accelerated by COVID, but they were there before, okay? So the vintage of an employee, right? How much time will this person stay with us was already being shortened before. Or, the gig economy. So like this idea that it's not only that I will have people that are part of my stable team, but I also have the gig economy and freelancers, and I will also have robots. So how can I create a culture with these three aspects or three elements in a team? There's a lot of things like that, and people are afraid of some of these trends, specifically about how long will an employee stay with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that the right way of seeing, or a better way of seeing this, is like, can we move towards a situation where we can measure, until when is the highest contribution that this person can give to this company, and vice versa, right? What is the biggest contribution that this company can give to someone's talent, okay? Because everything has a cap. And if we would be able to discover this cap, then there's no problem about time. So the problem here is about the angle on how we're measuring stuff. That's the first thing. And then we're talking about liquidity, okay, which is one of my favorite topics. So I will try to make it very short. The truth is that there are two things happening. One, on the side of the positions and the companies. The DNA of the positions are being rewritten. We're in a situation where technology and the changes in our society are turning the shape of the positions to unknown shapes. So a marketeer before, we would look at skills like communication and project management, but today they need to know SQL, right? They need to know Tableau as the software, for instance. These skills that weren't part of the nature of this role are now part of this role, and they are in high demand. These skills are grown 733% in the last few years, okay, in terms of demand.
Just so I'm clear, do you mean that, if you're hiring Robert and it's clear that this is the tech stack that I'm most comfortable with, and you use a tech stack that is different, my time to being viable within the business is going to be longer if you were to opt with me, because I'm going to have to onboard different tech to be a full member of that team?
No. I'm no longer talking about contribution. I'm talking about the nature of the role. Like, I'm talking about the fact that the way that we used to know positions in the past have changed. And, the skills even that you're looking in one's position are not the same as in the past. So for instance, today, as a marketeer, you need to know SQL data, right? And before, we weren't looking for that. I'm talking about 5 years ago. It's like a rapid change. So this has created unknown shapes. On the side of the talent, the same is happening. We are facing the most hybrid human capital ever because of informal education. People can learn new skills that are not necessarily related to their main, job title overnight. So they reskill themselves constantly. And then, if it was hard already in the past to match these two things, these two shapes that were well known, imagine how difficult it is today. So I think this is the liquidity that we're talking about. People are evolving. We see both companies, positions, and also talents as breathing systems that are constantly fueling and feeding each other, and therefore changing their shapes. And we need to find better, more accurate systems and better accurate technology in order to match them in the right time.
I guess, Yardenne, we're looking at the moment a marketplace where, like Steph is saying, that at the moment, the amount of work available exceeds the amount of talent that is available in the market. But if I'm following what Steph is saying properly, it might be that Robert could perform 3 of those roles in one, and therefore my currency in the marketplace is much higher, and actually my skill set can overlay into those different roles.
Look, I think that it's not about you being a multi-talent necessarily, but about the fact that today the market is looking at talent from a very specific lenses, which are where did you work and what did you do up until that point? Where did you study? Where we're allowing them to look at talent from different lenses. And by doing that, we're expanding the amount of talent that they should consider as relevant for the role. You understand? Because at the end of the day, the entire market is chasing these 15% of talent that has the right CVs, that they worked at the right places, that they graduated from the right universities. But in reality, they're not the only talent that can perform or execute the role. And what we're allowing them to do is to redefine what the role actually entails without putting this crazy, very aggressive gatekeepers, 7 years of, 3 years of, senior in, which is super general, not subjective, and cutting in a very, very extreme way the cake. We're allowing them to create this specific subjective lenses to look at talent. And by that, we're expanding the amount of talent that they're actually ending up hiring. Because today, our clients basically declare that 30% of the talent that they hire through Unboxable are talent that they would never even let them in based on their CV. So that's a dramatic change.
That's huge.
That's huge. That's huge.
Imagine, that's huge for companies. Imagine how huge it is for the person that was chosen, right?
Yeah.
You basically are able to change that person's life because you get to let him being seen in a different way.
I think also to latch on to the liquidity and currency concept is that, unfortunately, obviously we're seeing in the Ukraine at the moment, this horrific conflict, and people are talking about the end of globalization. I think they might be talking about that perhaps just within a security military aspect, but I think it's the other way around when it comes to work. Your product is gonna, and the way the world's moving is that I can bypass a lot of things that are localized in terms of my recruitment process, which doesn't mean just meeting the person. It means culture, it means everything. And I can quickly go to South America, Africa, places that I'm not recruiting currently, and access people who are just as talented, but don't get the access.
Definitely. Exactly that. I can tell you that we have several clients that are using our product exactly for that, like hiring and penetration new markets where the cultural differences are so big that they're forced on actually forced working with like local people in order to hire. And we're allowing them to do that in an automated way online without anyone on grounds, and actually start hiring people in places, just like you mentioned, that they would never take into consideration before.
I feel like this is just a huge part of your company purpose. The reason why you're existing is you happen to have an amazing tool that enables that to happen, but your why is this ability to change lives.
Definitely. I think if I'm going back to what you asked us in the first place and about what Stephie said about having wide hearts, I think it's about that. I think that at the end of the day, there's a true mission here about allowing everyone to be seen, allowing everyone to thrive, about making sure that like people will spend most of their waking hours in places that they feel growth and happiness.
In addition to that, like this is for sure a question that more people have asked us, like, why did you decide to devote yourself, the third company from a second company for Yardenne, like, again, another startup, like, and startups are hard. Entrepreneurship is hard, right? And I think that there's something very deep that we have seen in how in the way that we are solving it for people, right? Like we know the talents that are being hired, and I think that there's this moment, and I always say it, so Yardenne, forgive me. There's this moment in television, in like stupid, or maybe not that stupid, shows that have to do with talent, you know, like it doesn't matter, The Voice.
Like Britain's Got Talent, or
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a moment over there that makes people cry. Okay, there's a second over there when someone has, you know, a huge talent, suddenly sings like with a tremendous voice, right? And people are like, oh. And I think that there's this moment is what we are allowing people to do with their talents. Like we're giving them the stage in order to be seen in their true colors, no matter what, where you're coming from, what's your background, what is the bias that we have. And I think that this is what keeps us going. And this is what also like brings us so much stamina in our business.
Look, it resonates so much with the name Unboxable. I think of Britain's Got Talent now. You've reminded me of this. The winner of probably about 10 years ago was a woman called Susan Boyle. She stepped onto the stage. She looked like a grandmother in like a floral dress, that, you know, hair that was from like the 1950s. She looked like she was 80. She was about 26 years old. And, you know, she comes on screen. We're all biased. We look at her. Nah, no way this woman wins Britain's Got Talent. She opens her voice. Magical. What a skill. She goes
opera, on right? Yeah, I remember it perfectly. So these are the moments that we're allowing for talents to enjoy, and also for companies to make smart decisions based on that.
So, ladies, in the time that we've got left together, I want to tackle some issues around purpose. It's International Women's Month, and this week is International Women's Day on Tuesday. So I'm hoping that we can get this out beforehand. You can answer separately. Yardenne, I'll start with you. Do you want to be known as a female founder, a female entrepreneur?
That's an interesting question. I feel that and I'll speak for myself. I do not define myself like as an entrepreneur from a gender perspective, but I cannot say that I don't feel any differences, right? Like I think that as I started when I said that Stephie and I met each other when we were both new mothers, and we started the journey of motherhoods and starting a new business at the same time. It has its toll, but at the same time, it also brings you a certain perspective about, I'm always saying that being a female is something about containment, and being a man or a male is something about penetration. There's something very natural. And I think that there's something in the way that we see problems, we solve them, we bring solutions that is very wide and open. And it's something that I love and I cherish. And I want to say that, like, before Unboxable, I was surrounded only by men, and having alongside me Stephie and being like female founders is something that I feel that brings me into peaks that I could never, ever imagine, really. And I'm saying that coming from a family with a very strong mother, and I'm very happily married to someone. Actually, my husband is also an entrepreneur and a CEO of a startup, and we're very much equal. And
my God, I wouldn't want to live in your house.
No comment. No comment, because you catch me on the wrong day. Yeah. These are hectic times. We have also 2 very young kids at home. So interesting times. And I can tell you that, of course, it has its toll, but at the same time, I think that it's something that both of us bring together that creates different reality for us. And I love that.
That's a great answer. Stephie, your take.
You know, I am part of like a women entrepreneurs community. So this is a very, touched subject, of course. And I must tell you that in the past, I would have told you like, no, I don't want to be known as a female entrepreneur. But I think that the reason or the way that I was calculating that answer would be because I don't want to victimize myself. I don't want to have shame. I don't want to. So it was from that, operating from there, right? And today, I think that I do want to be known as a female entrepreneur in the following way. I think that it's important that other people, other women that are not as privileged as me and Yardenne, will know that it's possible. And that's the only reason why I would like to be known as a female entrepreneur.
Why are we privileged? I don't
we're not privileged.
I feel that we're very hard workers. I feel
no,
that
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about of course, I have nothing to say about that. I'm talking about privilege in the broader social aspect, right? So the truth is that both you and me, Yardenne, had very good examples at home of women, creating their paths. Also my mom, etc. Like both of us have like very, very strong women in our houses. But the rest of the examples that we had in life were all men. Me also, as a creative director or as a, in advertising, it's full of men, right? So I think that if our title will add one woman more in the top of a decision-making process, I think that it's just to add to the stats. I think that I would go for that.
I think it's, again, I can only speak from a man's point of view. I think it's about making sure that the equality or equity of opportunity exists. That I read recently that, female founders are like 50 times less likely to raise money from VCs. And that can't be right. So it's about that opportunity that everybody should know and everybody can realize whatever it is they're trying to achieve in their life.
Yeah, fortunately we raised money, and we didn't experience that problem, right? But of course, we can hear and we can see the gaps, for sure, in salaries, in access to power, in the way that you have been seeing, in the questions that you're being asked. Of course, we just have, me and Yardenne, our very unique way of dealing with that, which is brutal honesty. And I think that that's super important. We call people out if we feel that this is not, or we would, I don't think that we will have a relationship with an investor that thinks in that way. Our investor, by the way, is our first investor was Rona Sege, which is a female investor. And, I think that people get confused. I was asked this thing about why do you think that there's a less amount of women entrepreneurs than men? And I would say, listen, it's not, and many men were asked the same question, okay? And I was the only one that answered differently. Guess why? They were saying because there's something soft or with more fears of failure that that women are being raised differently than men, so with more fear of failure. And I was like, no, guys, you don't understand. The question here is about fear of success. The system is not being, the structure of the system is not being built for us to be able to just run, right? So I think that there's a lot of operational things that the market should rethink about that. But fortunately, me and Yardenne are very focused on our journey. And I think that we're becoming a good example for also other women that want to do that. Listen, it's not easy. We do have days where the kid in the kindergarten, and in that, I want to say that it's not only the partnership that you choose for your business, it's also very important, the partnership that you choose for your life. Sure. Who are you trying to spend your life with?
And it's important for me to mention that neither of our husbands are stay-home dads. Both of them are working really hard. And we're just making sure that we are really splitting equally everything that has to do with our mutual venture, which is our families. And there are some burdens that no one can take from us, like being pregnant and giving birth to lives and breastfeeding and all other beautiful gifts that we received from God. But at the same time, this is just the reality, and we need to make sure that we're creating the right surroundings that would allow us to flourish despite that, and also thanks to that, because there are so many crazy lessons that I brought back after giving my first birth about losing control, about being in control, about trusting others, about having a plan, and then this entire plan goes down the toilet and you have a new reality, about going up on your legs right after you had the greatest trauma of your life. So many things that are happening to you also as a woman are very, you spoke about sport in the past. So I think that like something about motherhood and the creation of life is the most similar thing that has to do with creating a business.
Yeah, entrepreneurship equals like pregnancy is entrepreneurship. 9 months of craziness. Yes, of course.
I think for me, just speaking honestly, I don't want a situation though where women are the same as men and men are the same as women. I think everyone has their own, offering to give to the world, and some of that sometimes will overlap, and sometimes it won't. And what you bring to, a business or to life will be different to what I bring to business and life. But I see from clients that we have in our own business that we're dealing with, female CEOs, male CEOs, and they all have some of the same problems, the same behavior traits, and they're all just trying to do the best they can in delivering their mission. But I guess kind of a couple of final questions for you. On your website, I watched the video of this red-headed, fire-blowing, overall wearing lady who's setting fire to the box. How much is that a statement? Be honest.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Of course, it's everything. It's like I'm happy that you were able to see it like that. Also, that was it shows that we were very accurate in our message. No, listen, like me and Yardenne are super unapologetic. Like that's the message, right? We are here to break boxes. Yeah. We're two women, and we're going to run with everything that we have until we break every single box out there.
I just love the red hair. I've got to tell you that. But the final question, because you make this statement on your website, and it shook me a little bit, actually. We probably don't have enough time to go into it in more depth now, but you say on your website, we're in a fluid world that's in motion like never before. Families, gender, work, and borders. There's a lot to unpacking that. It's its own separate podcast, probably. That's a really big statement to make. I don't think I agree with some of it. We can talk about that, but
I can assume which part you cannot agree with.
I think the families and gender thing is an issue for me. That we can unpack it. But first of all, what made you write that and be so bold on the website?
I think that this is the fluidity that we were talking before. Like either we like it or not. The new generations have a different understanding about what is your ID, like identity-wise, right? Like we are coming, even our generation is coming from systems that just wanted to put us in labels or in boxes in order to, because it was easy. And we're saying, okay, the intention wasn't bad. The intention was like, let's make it easier. Let's call, okay, a family is this, a couple is this, gender is male or female, very binary ways. And as we are evolving as humanity, like new definitions are appearing. Again, whether we like it or not, they exist. And that's creating more complexity in the world.
Which makes the old tools even less relevant.
Yes. So the essence of that is that at the end of the day, no one wants to be put in a box, right? Either as a talent or as a human or as no, like it doesn't work anymore. You are much more than, 6 sides. You are much more than either this political color or the other. It's much richer than a binary result. And I think that that's what we're allowing people to show also, that it's not black or white, and that the gray can be even much more successful.
I think it's interesting what you say. I agree with a lot of what you said, actually. And perhaps where I'm coming from on some of that statement is, I see in the workplace that people are yearning for belonging and connection, and they're using their work as a new place of community. And I see that maybe as, and again, I'm no social anthropologist, but a result of the breakdown of, whether you call it traditional family or not, but that for me, yes, my work is my work, and there are lots of other places in my life that are community to me. And that has, I think, been degraded over recent decades so that people don't have that same level of connection. So they look for it in their workplace, and that's where they're driving their interactions and engagement. That's why employee engagement is so important. So I think sometimes boxes are useful because not you can't always be an individual. There are times where you need to identify with other people and say, I'm like you, and we're on a journey together in this way. So there are sometimes where borders and barriers, boxes do work.
No, I think that the only thing that we're missing here is to claim that you cannot be defined based on the box that someone else chose to put you in. And this is what we're fighting against for, okay? And I think that's like the bottom line of what we're doing here. Because when I'm assuming something about the other side, when having very little information, and based on that, I'm making dramatic decisions, this is where the entire process is wrong. And this is where we're moving the needle dramatically.
You see, and this is why we're partners. She couldn't have said it better.
Well, I think with that amazing statement, it's time to draw things to a close, because I've kept you longer than you probably could afford. It was absolutely my pleasure to be able to listen to both of you, Yardenne and Stephie, to hear how you are unboxing the world. And I wish you only huge success in everything that you're doing, that your mission and your reason why should come to fruition, and that you're changing people's lives ultimately, that we're removing that element of the box and giving people opportunity that they may never have had before. So thank you for being on Coffee with Curtis.
Thank you, Robert, for having us. Have a beautiful week and happy Women's Day.
And to you, thank you both.
Bye.